I can't remember ever taking one of these repair sleeves off, but I'll have a go at it. So this one is iffy. I took a small screwdriver and just beat a dent into it from this outer edge. It's pretty soft stuff. Beat a dent up because the dampener's beveled anyway. I'm gonna stick these side cutters in there and open it like a sardine can with any luck. Or a candy bar. That seems to work. Worked out, run out of room against the vise. That did it. Don't even look like any Loctite was used under it. It wasn't cleaned before it was put on. I'm gonna check the dampener out, see if it can be saved, or why that was on there. Doesn't. I don't know. Yeah, I'll go over it. And no matter what you're doing with this damper, just be certain do not dent this ring, damage it in any fashion. That's what crank sensor uses as a reference to sequence the firing and fuel injection part of it. Don't want any dents or any problems with the windows in this. This is where the factory seal is supposed to stop flush. This aftermarket seal is going to have to be drove all the way down to the bottom. I was looking at where it wears more on this repair sleeve. If I leave it up flush, it's going to be off the edge and the part of the dampener I don't want it on. So this is the end of the repair sleeve, so if I push the seal on down, it'll be in an area that's seal friendly, I guess. Once your seal's installed, lubricate it with some part engine oil and part oil stop burn or something. Just lubricate the trough and the lip and put some on the dampener. This cover is finally cleaned up. There's 3 critical places that should be absolutely grease free, and I hit it with some 320 sandpaper. As this oil pan, the timing cover seal should be perfectly grease free and oxidation free preferably, and each one of these big holes with the water jacket, I just run some sandpaper around the holes after cleaning it up to get the oxidation off of it so it'll seal well. Went ahead and cleaned the lower radiator outlet pipe up, and the heater bypass outlet is cleaned up. Now it looks like somebody cut away the oil pan gasket. That's why it was leaking. Well, this is an economy job. I hate to go buy an oil pan gasket just to cut it out and replace that piece that's missing. Or change the whole oil pan gasket. That's just going to be a lot more expensive. I bought a new oil pan gasket for this because I think that was just going to be too hard to duplicate, too intricate, so I just cut the end off of it. This is a piece I cut off the new oil pan gasket. Stuck it in there. Just cut just a little bit too big, so it's pushing on both the cut off ends. Dab some silicone in there. It'll be alright. I've degreased the block all around the water jackets, dirt free. I put a drop of super glue on the end of that rubber seal and butted up against the rubber seal from the rest of the oil pan. It glues rubber together pretty good. I cleaned out the bolt holes. Make sure there's no silicone or anything back in your bolt holes, so that you don't put a bolt in there and bust the block compressing the silicone. This has been degreased, all of it. I'm going to apply silicone to the block, put the gasket on it, and apply silicone to the gasket, and then drop the cover down in there. And I'm going to put silicone on those large bolts around the water jacket, around this big hole. Silicone, at least both the lower ones. And I'll probably put silicone in these corners where that blue seal meets the block. And I'll probably put a thin layer of silicone along that blue seal, just to help it out. Last thing you want to do is remove the crank sensor wire harness plug-in, the support bracket for the plug-in. Just get it out of the way. Crank sensor plugs in here. And that big hole on the right there. Just get it out of the way so you have plenty of room for your cover and the gasket. I'm going to check the clearances on the gasket before I stick it on there. Make sure it fits alright. Test fit your gasket first so you know which way it goes on there. And get any imperfection out of the gasket that'll stick up. This is the way this one's set. Dowel pins, bolt holes, water jackets. I'm going to be using RTV black around the water jackets, and then just regular RTV ultra black on the timing, just to saturate the gasket and keep it stuck while I drop this cover down in there. And probably use right stuff along this just to help make sure it seals. The right stuff's good stuff. If you've had silicone sitting around for a while, put a thick dab of it, a couple of them, and drag a thin piece across, and wait and see if it sets up before you use it in such a critical area, or you could have a problem. I'm kind of worried about that tube. Looks like it's separating the clear liquid silicone or whatever separating out of it. It's probably time to use a new tube. That one's been laying there a while. I kind of got a squeeze tube of it. New heater hose. Yeah, just a thin coat of silicone, all you need. Nothing major. Just to saturate the gasket to keep stuff, oil and fluids from wicking through it. I'm going to stick that on the block, wipe its cover down. Yeah, just a thin layer. And pile it up in the corners where the seal and the gasket meet next to the oil pan. And coat your water jacket bolts with silicone. I got it put on there, it was a fight. I dropped that cover down to the oil pan, then got down here and grabbed the cover and pulled down on it and got these lower 10mm bolts started, and then pushed the cover onto the dowel pins, then went up top and put in one of the 13mm, then just went through putting the bolts in. You should see silicone popping out of the corners just like that. Looks like a good install if the gasket stayed put. Cover sits on there square. The 10mm bolts torqued to 16 foot-pounds. These 13mm up in front torqued to 41 foot-pounds. That one water jacket bolt torques to 35 foot-pounds. I think that's a little better job than it had been done to it. Now let the cover set up just a few minutes, and went ahead and tightened that main bearing bolt back to the oil pan. Put a little silicone under it, even though it has no ring under it. If you remove the crank sensor, go ahead and put it back on with the wire hold down. I'm going to have to fabricate one for this, and then stick the dampener back on. Clean the crank keyway out, and it's going to take a little shot of black silicone. Keep oil from leaking up past it. Just keep it inside the keyway, not outside the crank dampener. This dampener bolt tightens down to 52 foot-pounds plus a 72-degree turn, or 76 foot-pounds. I usually just tap it on there enough to get at least 3/8 of the bolt started and just run it down with the impact. This one anyway is pretty tough to take it, or you can use an equivalent bolt with a nut and a washer to run it down. Took a piece of scrap steel, keep around, and made that hold down. As long as it stays off of that height of the cover, and it gets a tear the wire up. Anything blew the bolt heads anyway. And the dampener's back on. I'm going to put the idler pulley back on down below the water pump. Plug your crank sensor in if you haven't done it, and put your lower radiator hose back on. Clean the scale out of the hose so it'll bite on good, or replace the hose. It'll be preferable if it's worn out. Once you get the power steering pump settled back in its place but not bolted, you can put this L bracket back underneath the alternator. Don't forget that the lines snap into a bracket back there to help retain them in place so they won't get in the workings down there, drive axle, whatever else. Power steering pump, it's got 3 bolts in it. I gotta find another bolt because there was one missing out of it. This bracket has 2 bolts. Then you just want to put these 2 bolts in kind of snug, and then put this 3rd tensioner bolt. Just put the bolt in there and then tighten these 2 down, and this 3rd one back here. Then take the tensioner bolt out and put the tensioner on, because sometimes it won't line up if you tighten the other bolts down before that bolt. They need to all be in line with one another. The L bracket and alternator is bolted back down. I replaced the missing alternator bolt in the back. And there's the tensioner bolt I stuck in to make sure it lines the hole up. I just need to bolt the tensioner arm. Make sure the locating pin slips into the locating hole on the bracket. The power steering's wrenched in there. The lines are snapped down into their holder back there. Went ahead and cleaned this water outlet pipe up. Kept the hole covered up so debris didn't fall in there. It's got a new O-ring on it. This doesn't need any silicone around it, but it does need some lubrication for the O-ring before it goes in the hole. Go ahead and install it. The water outlet's hooked back up and a new hose. I pressure tested the system. The cover's not leaking anywhere.